Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen and welcome back to my channel, Slow Down with Sarah Jean. So it has been a while. About 5.5 months ago I had my fourth baby and it has been a little bit of a rocky road. The way he came into the world with my home birth wasn't exactly how I had imagined, and it's just taken me a while to process everything. And it was in the middle of summer and we were just busy, and now I finally feel ready to commit to my YouTube videos again and hopefully my blog. If you're new here, I have 4 littles that are under 5.5. So my motherhood journey has been quite the ride. I first struggled with infertility about over 6 years ago, and finding my way in motherhood has been just a big journey, and I'm always on the ups and downs of motherhood, and obviously there are things that take the back burner like a YouTube channel and a blog. So I finally feel ready to jump back into it, and I am so excited to take you guys along this week as we prepare wholesome, rustic, cozy cooking in my kitchen. I am going to make a few meals with you guys that will just make you feel warm inside, super nourishing, healthy meals that will not take you a lot of time to put together, and I hope that you enjoy them. My little buddy here just woke up from his nap and he just wants mama, so we are gonna get started on dinner. And tonight we are going to make a whole roasted chicken, which I usually do about once a week because it serves us in so many ways. So I will have this, oh, so tired. So I will, you wanna get down? I will have this.
Nose.
So we will have this for dinner tonight, and then we will go ahead and use the leftovers for lunch or dinner. And then we will use the bones for bone broth and make a soup or stew later on this week. Roasting a whole chicken is such an easy meal that I think people brush aside because it can seem like a large thing to cook and therefore it will take a long period of time, but it only takes about 1 to 1.5 hours depending on the size of the chicken. So sometimes I throw it right into my Instant Pot for a set it and forget it type of meal, but other times it tastes a little more wholesome to roast it in the oven and give it that crispy skin. I just set it in my oven at 400 degrees and do about 15 to 20 minutes per pound. I like to have recipes in my arsenal that I don't have to look up a recipe and can literally just get to work in the kitchen, and this is one of those recipes. Making dinner can be daunting if you have kids running around and have to stare at a recipe over and over and measure so many different ingredients. It's just a little much sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I love trying new recipes, but I tend to get annoyed when I can't focus, and I've really found a love for just remaking what I know and what I know my family loves. So first, I pat the chicken dry, then I melt a few tablespoons of butter, pour it over with some avocado oil as well, and most times I lather the butter in between the skin and the meat, but I must have forgot this time. So I sprinkle on some salt, pepper, garlic and onion powder, paprika, some homemade dried seasonings like parsley, oregano, and thyme. Something else that would be good with this is like if you had sage or rosemary, those are really great with chicken as well. I add some onions, celery, and carrots to the bottom of my cast iron. Sometimes I'll even throw a lemon inside the cavity of the chicken for some extra flavor. And then I cooked this chicken for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. The side options are really endless with a roasted chicken. You could do mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, a fresh salad, fresh sourdough, some rice and sauteed veggies, or roast up a pan of veggies like we did. I cut up some squash, potatoes, and sweet potatoes, drizzled them in avocado oil and some seasonings like garlic, onion, salt, and pepper. I really like to just keep it simple when it comes to cooking most of the time. So you keep it simple and these flavors really come out in the veggies. For the fall and winter, we've been getting a farm CSA, which if you're not familiar with what a farm CSA is, it's a community supported agriculture. So it essentially means it's a local farm and you buy into a share in the beginning of each season. And then each week or bi-weekly, you go and pick it up from the farm. There are things like you can not only get veggies, but honey and fruit, and there are milk shares. There are so many different CSA shares. It's been such a great way for us to eat seasonally and organic during this time that I don't really want to tend to a garden in the cold weather. I have tried to do a fall garden. I haven't been very successful at it because tending to a garden for 6 months out of the year sometimes is all I can handle. I was never really interested in eating seasonally up until I started gardening. Now, I really try to focus on fruits and veggies that are in season. Not to say I won't buy berries or tomatoes during the winter, but I prefer frozen berries right now since they are picked in season and at peak ripeness, so they are the most nutritious at that time. But in the fall and winter, we've been eating lots of onions, potatoes, carrots, radishes, lettuce, and spinach and kale, sweet potatoes, cabbage, squash, garlic, and beets. I feel like it's really all about community and not being self-reliant at all. I love being sustainable. I love doing what I can, but sometimes we can't do it all. And I truly think we can work together to cut out the middleman, also known as the grocery store, when it comes to our food. In my fridge. As soon as I am done with eating dinner, we take all of the meat off of the chicken to save for lunch or dinner another night, and I make a batch of bone broth for the week. Occasionally, I won't do this right away, and in that case, I would just throw it into a Ziploc freezer bag and into the freezer until I'm ready to make broth. So I put the carcass in the Instant Pot along with celery, onion, herbs, garlic, carrots. Sometimes I put cinnamon sticks in it and a splash of apple cider vinegar and fill it up with water. I set it to 3 hours, but then I let it sit until the next day usually to really let those flavors develop and let the collagen and nutrients come off the bones. I then store it in the fridge in mason jars to use in soup, to cook rice, to sip on, or to make gravy and cook with for the week. So for this next meal, we are going to make chili, and I know that's not obviously a new recipe, but I feel like a lot of people forget about chili and just how warm and nourishing it is. And I'm gonna teach you a way to add liver, beef liver, to your chili, and your family won't even know it, and you get all those added nutrients. So I just took my Instant Pot and I drained out the bone broth, I rinsed it out, and we're just gonna reuse it again for the chili. So you could do the Instant Pot on slow cook setting, you could use your slow cooker, or obviously you could put it on the stove and just let it simmer for a couple of hours. So this is a meal that just takes a few minutes to put together and is super nourishing, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do it and my special ingredients that I add that you might not be familiar with adding to your chili. So we're gonna cook up this beef. Then I'm gonna take the beef liver, just add a little bit in with a cheese grater, put this in a Ziploc bag and put this back in the freezer. It's way easier to do it that way as it's frozen and just grate it in rather than trying to chop it up and add it in. But once you have it all cooked up, it doesn't even look like liver, tastes like liver, and it's super, super healthy for you. So if you've never cooked with beef liver before, don't be turned off by it. You can add it to a bunch of different recipes, and I promise your family 99.9% of the time won't even know it. I've added it to lasagna, I've added it to meatballs, meatloaf, I always add it when we make chili. There are tons of recipes. Basically, if you're cooking with ground beef, you could add a tiny little bit of beef liver, make it more nutrient dense, and like I said, your family will never even know. So while that's cooking on the stove, we're gonna go ahead and prepare the other ingredients. I'm gonna start off by just chopping up an onion and some garlic, and I already have my peppers chopped up and frozen from the fall. My peppers didn't do so well in my garden this year, but I went to a farmer's market and stocked up on a bunch of organic peppers, like $1 each. So what I did is I just came home and froze them, and we're gonna use them today. It's perfect for a recipe like this. I feel as though chili is one of those recipes that everybody kind of forgets about, but when you add in nutrient-dense ingredients like bone broth and garlic and onion, peppers, the beef liver, grass-fed beef, this just becomes such a lovely meal that you can feel really good about feeding your family, and obviously it will fill you up. Add it with some sourdough bread or some cornbread, and you have a really, really cozy meal for mostly really any season, but I especially love this in the fall and winter. Bone broth is really good for the gut. It's really good, it has those healing benefits. Okay, just chopped up some garlic. And we are going to add this all together to the pot. I usually would add about 1 to 2 peppers. I'm gonna add probably like half of this. Kind of eyeballing it. If you're new here, I'm not really a great measurer. I measure a lot when baking, but with recipes, I mostly just wing it, and works out pretty well. Next, we're gonna add in some diced tomatoes. Then we're gonna add in red kidney beans, the spices, some tomato paste, and my secret ingredients. I do strain and rinse off my canned beans just to get rid of the extra salt and starches. Normally, I like to make my own beans, but my kiddos are at my mom's and I need to go pick them up soon. We're gonna add in a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. This was just tomato paste I needed to use up that I saved from dinner a few nights ago. Gonna obviously add some chili powder. I would say I usually add about a tablespoon. You can add more after you taste test. Some cumin. Gonna add in my secret ingredients, which are maple syrup, just about 1 or 2 tablespoons, and a little dash of cinnamon. I'm really gonna make the best chili. We have this ongoing joke, my husband and I, when we first got married, and I'm also gonna add in about 1.5 to 2 cups of broth. So when my husband and I first got married, he was in the military, and his company had a chili cook-off. And I was a new wife, I was 19 at the time, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna enter this chili cook-off. And so I made chili. It was probably my first time ever making chili, and I was so excited to see what everybody thought, and it was me and one other wife that participated in the chili cook-off. So we always joke because we both won, we both got gift cards to go out to dinner, and my husband and I, to this day, that was 12 years ago, right? 12 years ago? Yeah, 12 years ago. We laugh about it and say I am the master chili maker and chili award winner. So I really think now, after adding maple syrup and cinnamon to my chili, that that is definitely true. Just gonna go ahead now, add my beef mixture. definitely gonna make some cornbread, I think, tonight. Make sure I have all the ingredients for that. Make some cornbread. Now I'm just gonna mix everything up. Oh, I'm gonna add some salt and pepper, and then I'm gonna leave it on the slow cooker for about 4 hours. I forgot to mention that I also don't add jalapenos to my chili because I have a bunch of littles eating it, but I will a lot of the times add it on top, or I will add some fermented jalapenos, and also you can add sour cream, shredded cheese, avocado. There are tons of toppings to add to your chili once it's done to make it just super, super good. For this next recipe, it's just one that I came across while scrolling Pinterest and kind of put my own spin on it. It is lasagna soup. I don't know how I've never made this before, but it was so good, warm, and filling. I just started by chopping up an onion. I prefer white onions, but we've been getting a ton of red onions in our farm share, so I'm just using what we're getting. I added these to my pot and then I sauteed them with some olive oil. Then I chopped up a few cloves of garlic and added those. I added some ground venison, which you can do ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, ground venison, ground moose, whatever you prefer. We're just trying to clear out our deep freezer because we're getting another half of a pig and 1/3 of a cow. We're splitting it with some friends. Not like actually getting the pig or the cow, but we're getting the meat. Raised locally, and we will be filling our freezers up again soon. I also added some mushrooms that I need to get rid of, so I chopped those up really, really small so nobody could see them. Because I love cooking with mushrooms in soups. It's a great way to hide them while getting some flavor and added nutritional benefits. While those were sauteing, I started boiling water for the lasagna noodles. And once everything was cooked up in the pot, I added crushed tomatoes, a few cups of bone broth, a tiny bit of red pepper flakes, and some Italian seasonings, and let that cook for a little while. While that was simmering and the water was coming to a boil, I shredded up some cheese that we'll be adding to the pot. And I also did a little mixture of ricotta and shredded cheese to put on top at the end. Then I added about a half a cup of milk to the soup. Once the lasagna noodles are done, you add them to the pot, which I should have made the lasagna noodles a little smaller, but I know better next time. I served the soup with a dollop of the ricotta mixture, and it was really so tasteful, just like lasagna, with a cozy winter spin on it. It was super satisfying and perfect for a cold winter day when we are craving something warm and cozy and something that will just, if the kids are playing outside or in the snow and they come inside, this will really warm their bodies and fill them with nutritious veggies and meat and broth. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and got some inspiration to cook your family some cozy and nourishing meals this week. Make sure to check out the other videos on my channel as well as my blog, sarahjeanmelito.com. Take care.